So Tekken 8 finally came out after what, like 30 years? It's about time. I've been waiting for this for so long. Not really. I only really got into Tekken when 7 came out like everybody else, and I was eagerly waiting for a Tekken 8 announcement as I was getting further into the competitive scene. I went to Combo Breaker last year, I played the alpha, I played the closed network test, and I played the beta. I was so fucking hyped for this. Too bad I had two 10-hour shifts back to back on the release dates, so I couldn't have any fun. But finally, when I got my hands on the game, it was everything I expected and then some. You can tell from the very start that this isn't your daddy's Tekken. You can literally see the pores on Kazuya's face. But don't look at my screen too long, my PC can't handle max settings. I got it on medium right now. I think a lot of people have been saying it, but this is definitely a love letter to Tekken. Or rather, a love letter from Tekken. Saying thank you for giving us one more chance. Look how much we've evolved from Tekken 7. Look at how much we've grown. Look at the new engine. Look how crazy Kazuya's pecs are. I think the UI for this game is really intuitive and it doesn't feel like a hassle to maneuver around. I don't think we've had a main menu layout like this before, but the change is welcome, especially with all the new content that we were blessed with. Just like the main menu, we can proceed from left to right. The story mode for Tekken 7 had some pretty okay moments, but most of it was always interrupted by the narrator, aptly named the journalist. For an already okay story, adding a shitty narrator only dampers enjoyability. Luckily for us, Tekken 8 had a large enough budget to take out the narrator entirely, and instead gave us a fully cinematic story mode. With the amount of money put into this, it better be good. It isn't too long, it's maybe about 4 or 5 hours. Or 6 if you don't know how to play Jin. But the story brings a whole bunch of variety. It starts off with a fight between the holier than thou Jin fighting Kazuya. And Kazuya obviously wins because this is chapter 1. After this point, you gotta play as Jin as he's conflicted and has to learn to fight without his devil gene. And that means the move list feels a bit empty with strings like 1-1 and down 2 being taken away from you as you're forced to play as a human. Now, that's just not fair. Kazuya has his devil form under control, so he gets the obvious upper hand in their little feud. But after announcing another King of the Iron Fist tournament, Jin takes his time to get better and try to unlock his devil gene again. During the finals, Zafina and Claudio pull up as if they can do something against Kazuya in this state. Unfortunately for them, Kazuya forces Azazel out of Zafina and does a classic Tekken boss fight against Azazel and consumes him? Jin, please, how do you expect to deal with this? Oh, wait. Jin has a plan. He's gonna go to his family tree and take a nap. Because they told him something about connecting to his family roots. So while Jin's taking a nap, everyone else is out playing Tekken Force in the boonies. Lars already had enough Tekken Force in Tekken 6, so he decides to let everybody have some fun and go wake Jin up. So he uses the power of friendship to fight somebody who can delete land masses, which is absurd. But luckily Jin shows up right in the nick of time and now has the power of his mom's purification and his dad's demon mode. Okay, so I'm gonna slow down the summary here because we need to talk about some of this. Kazuya slaps up Jin a little and decides to take him out along with the entire island they're fighting over. So Jin goes into his subconscious, collects a flower that his mom made from a bird, and becomes
Angel Jin.
Now the fight is leaning in Jin's favor. Jin throws the death ball into the water, and they just so happen to fight over either a geyser or a delayed impact of that death ball. I honestly have no idea where the fuck this came from. I played this mission a few times. I don't know where the geyser came from. Angel Jin and Devil Kazuya continue to duke it out in space on an asteroid falling towards Earth. The fight goes on for quite a while with some quick time events thrown in there for even more immersion. And then they proceed to punch the devil out of each other. I'm not kidding. They legitimately punch genetics out of each other in space on an asteroid falling down to the Earth and survive the fall back down? They survive the fall back down as humans after they punch the genetics out of each other. After they get back up, this is the part where you dap your opponent up, good fight, let's go on our own separate ways. Just kidding. It's even more fight. It's so much fight. There's like 15 or 20 minutes more worth of fight. After confronting himself and coming to terms with his past, he finally trades a blow with Kazuya and remains standing as Kazuya crumbles. My jaw was honestly hitting the floor harder and harder every few minutes because of how wacky the story was getting. If it wasn't a story element, it was a really cool gameplay change. The classic boss fight with Azazel was a nice callback to Tekken 6, and the Tekken Force change had so many new additions. I'm surprised it's not its own game mode. I'm surprised it's not its own game mode yet, because this has so much work put into it. It should not be thrown to the side. It is honestly insane. They implement heat, and then it's like you sidestep an enemy and that shit fills your heat or puts you in the heat or some shit. I don't know. I was playing on a hitbox and I found the controls confusing because I was not on a joystick or anything. Like, there's so much to this Tekken Force. I am so surprised it's not its own game mode. This story was a huge upgrade from Tekken 7. Everything down to the character representation. I don't even remember anything from 7 outside of the beginning and the Heihachi vs Kazuya fight. I think every character in the roster has a role in the story, even if it's just for a fight or two. During the early stages of the tournament, you actually played the tournament. You could select which character you want, whether it's fucking Brian versus Dragunov or King versus Steve. You get to choose your character, and it's actually really cool, because all of them have their own unique intros, and I think that's really awesome. Even outside of the tournament, during the Tekken Force area, you actually play Leo as he comes in contact with the Kyuffy Cute again. It's kind of a nothing fight, but it actually gives a reason for Azucena to be there. It's really not that deep. She really just wants to expand her coffee, but it's there. If I were to pick an issue I have with the story, it's gonna have to be Reina's inclusion. Reina literally shows up, dies, does not elaborate, comes back as a devil. Like that's how it happens. Like, she tries to make contact with some of the characters, but nothing really happens, and sometimes you get internal dialogue where she's like hinting at things that are gonna happen in the future or things that she's striving towards. Maybe she's one of Heihachi's daughters, an illegitimate daughter or something. I don't know. I didn't even talk about Reina in the summary because I didn't need to. That irritates me. So it's such a wasted character. How the fuck does Shaheen and Azucena make a bigger impact to the story than like a Mishima? Like, that's insane. I get the hype around her, but her story inclusion was just horrible, I think. But overall, the story was pretty good. Would I play it again? Yeah, I've actually already played it a few times. There's a ton of references scattered throughout this game, usually during Kazuya and Jin's altercations. An obvious one is Jin's pose during this scene being an exact copy of the Tekken 3's cover art, while his style is shifting from classic Jin to Kazama style over to Mishima style. It's really fucking cool. His theme song even plays in the background once he hits the pose. The story mode really is a thank you to the fans. There's no other way to think about it. Moving on from the main story, character episodes are back, and they're pretty interesting this time around as opposed to Tekken 7's. I'm not gonna lie, some of them are a bit uneventful, and others are kings. I don't know how many of these are considered canon, but I think most of them are worth your time if you care about any of the characters' stories, or just single player content in general. I honestly don't have much to say about the character episodes, since, you know, they're just short videos, like, you know. Alright, moving away from most of the story elements, I'm going to bunch up Ghost Battle and Arcade Quest in the same section here, because you fight ghosts in Arcade Quest. So Arcade Quest is a brand new game mode to the Tekken series, and it's actually like really fun. I'm an intermediate level player, and I still enjoyed Arcade Quest quite a bit. In this game mode, you play as, well, you, or in my case, Kinjin. Okay, I pre-ordered the game, don't get mad at me. As you learn more about the game, you travel from region to region fighting more advanced and interesting fighters until you impact the community enough to participate in Tekken World Tour. Every fighter has their own reasons for playing the game, and they'll give you some insight before fighting them. Beat, for example, will explain how he really doesn't care about winning, he just wants to see some flashy moves. Then he gets mad when I beat him. Well, why do you do this? You're so not fun to play with. Each location has a completely different feel with their own top players who will challenge you once they catch wind that you're new to the area. I think this game mode is the best thing for new players. Since I started playing Tekken about 4 or 5 years ago, I remember how confusing the game was to pick up. Fighting games don't have the best track record in teaching newbies how to play the game. Thankfully, Max here has your back. In every location, he'll take you on a tutorial that gives you information about your character's combos, their important moves, and heat. As you're playing, you can choose to have recommended moves on the side of your screen that can help you out if you find it hard to remember your character's move list. Even as an intermediate player, I still had fun. I highly recommend this game mode. Another cool addition to Tekken 8 is Super Ghost Battle. This is practically your training partner if everybody you know is better than you. Your ghosts will start out like a helpless little baby. They can't even move without guidance. But when you see this indicator here, saying that the AI is learning, you can do anything you want, and over time, the ghost will start to mimic you. You can mold it into any fighter you want. If you're having trouble with Demo Man, God! You can teach your ghost to play in that style you're having trouble with and learn to fight against it in a more natural setting. In my experience, I could lab certain moves for a very long time, but I won't be able to comfortably react to it until I start learning to deal with it in an actual game. Since you get to use it as a training partner, you can teach it to do anything you want, really. Yeah, look, I taught mine to embarrass people. I don't think I ever would have imagined a Tekken AI doing that shit. Now, this anger will fuel me instead of demote me. Along with training with it directly, your Super Ghost follows you all over the place. So while you're playing online, it'll actually learn from you and gather up your tendencies and get updated every once in a while. And since it follows you online, if somebody were to go to your account, they would actually be able to download your ghost and fight against it. So you're not the only one getting fucking counter hit in a forward 2-1. I'm not embarrassed anymore. So far, I think the Super Ghost has untapped potential. I have yet to be amazed by somebody else's ghost, so believe it or not, I will actually be hosting my own King of the Iron Fist tournament Super Ghost bracket. Is that possible? I don't think that's possible. Bandai Namco, I know you're watching. You know what to do. I mentioned before that you fight ghosts in Arcade Quest, and the reason I'm bunching them up is because I genuinely don't know if the devs taught the ghosts to play a certain way and put them in the game, or if they're actually just AI programmed to fight in that style. I looked online and I couldn't really find any info on it. If you could fill me in, just let me know in the comments, honestly. I think it's really cool regardless. So, that's all the single player content. I didn't touch the gameplay itself in that section because I think it's way more important to the multiplayer sections in this game. Is that a hot take? I don't know, man, anymore. Anyways, Tekken Ball is back. Tekken Ball is back. You heard me. Tekken Ball is back. I remember playing this game as a kid. I'm so happy that it's back. It's been like 26 years since it's been in the game, excluding the Wii U Attack 2, I think. So obviously, they had to update it. There's some actual technique that needs to be put into the attacks now, since different attacks send the ball in different paths, going to and fro and to, from me to you, from you to me, back to you. Stop! There are two ways to damage your opponent. You could either smack the ball into them directly, or have the ball land behind this white line. I'm pretty sure different balls have different stats. Me personally, I'm an Azazel ball type of guy. I think it looks cool. I don't care about the stats, actually. I brought that up. That's a non-point for me. I like how it looks. Actually, it is a non-factor because I just looked it up and only Tekken 3 has the different stats. Tekken 8, all balls do the same thing, which is cool. I'm fine with that. Azazel ball still best. Unlike the other iteration of Tekken Ball, you can play online through the lounge. This game mode is so chill and laid back, I really can't imagine anybody getting salty here or plugging. They should have a ranked Tekken Ball. I'm sure that would be fucking insane. I wonder how many people would cheat to keep their rank. I'll get into that later. A thing I initially didn't like about this game mode is the inclusion of heat, but it actually plays a nice role in obscuring the screen and keeping you close to the ball. Overall, the game mode that has been left out for 2 decades is still fun to play to this day. Watch, look at this shit. Now that we're specifically on the online portion, I would like to show you all a haiku that I wrote for the online multiplayer. Tekken 8's new heat. Scary place full of cheaters. Practice mode, best friend. Thank you. For newer players, this haiku might seem confusing. Here, I can break it down for you. Alright, look. The apostrophe right here demonstrates the use of a contraction. Tekken 8 is new heat, or rather, the new heat, because of how it's exploding in popularity. But the apostrophe is also possessive, which means Tekken 8 actually has new heat. Which means Tekken finally updated the game and added a new mechanic. Heat is a new meter system added to Tekken, and it adds a whole new layer of gameplay. Heat is a really powerful mechanic that favors offensive play. Instead of rage, which affects your damage output, Heat gives you additional moves or adds effects to moves that you already have. For example, Kuma's Heat gives him the ability to charge moves faster, adds a guard break to barrel roll 1, and adds Wind Bear Fist or Fresh Wind Bear Fist to his move list. Heat can be activated using 2+3 or your dedicated Heat Burst button for 10 seconds to make your mark and change the tides of battle. You can use it normally for a plus frame, or you can tap back to cancel it out. Other ways you could use your heat includes a Heat Smash, a Rage Drive like attack which wastes your heat, Heat Engager, a secondary way to pop into your heat when landing certain attacks, and Heat Dash, a dash that expires your heat but will help extend combos or give you mad plus frames. Tekken 8's heat is a great mechanic. It did need to be reworked a couple of times though, so it wasn't so oppressive, because back in the alpha, they had these tokens or something. I don't really know how they worked, but they're gone now, so I don't really think that matters. Using a heat engager doesn't decrease your heat timer whatsoever, so instead of 10 seconds, you get the full 15 seconds of heat. I remember back when the game was first being advertised, 10 to 15 seconds of heat sounded like it was going to be crazy, but honestly, I think it works really well. I think they perfected it. Tekken is a very complex game. There are tons of characters with 80 or more moves. Which way do I sidestep? How far do I need to be away from this? How negative is that? You're telling me that's safe? And with the aforementioned heat meter, you have to remember what your heat gives you and your opponent. It takes a ton of time to learn, and a lot of people praise themselves for understanding the game enough to master a character or play competitively. People enjoy showing off their ranks and achievements, so when you can achieve the highest rank in the game, people will use that as a source of credibility. But there will always be people who cheat the system or find loopholes to get their rank easier than everybody else. Now, having a higher rank doesn't necessarily reap any benefits other than respect, but that respect doesn't mean anything if you're a fraud. A lot of people currently at the higher ranks on a leaderboard have scummed their way up there, and although I don't know exactly how it's done, their Pentagon skill thingy is hardly filled. Ways of cheating that I've run into are macros, which is a way to map any input to one button. For example, one button perfect electrics. And pluggers, which save their rank by disconnecting so they won't take a loss and get demoted. I haven't run into many people who do this, but I'm assuming this happens most often at higher ranks. Regardless, running into one is very irritating, and if you run into multiple in a row, it does become an issue and discourage you from even playing the game. Even with all that happening, online is still a relatively fun space where you can find a ton of people to play with and enjoy the game. They even added the Tekken Lounge, which I didn't really talk about in this video, but there's not much to talk about. You just go there and find matches with people that you don't know. But instead of looking at a list online, you actually have your little character and you walk around and go into the arcade, which is still really cool. You could chat with people, you could challenge people, you can fight their ghost, you can see their stats. It's very interactive and really interesting. Now, while all those cheaters are using cheating tactics to cheat their way to the top, you're going to be using practice mode because you're not a cheater. When you're loading into any online game, you are going to get sent to practice mode. And as I've stated before, there are so many moves to keep track of, and everybody is going to pick up different characters that have different styles of playing. So it's up to you to put them in their place. I heard a lot of people complain about this roster of characters, but I honestly think it's a great roster. We literally have characters that represent each generation of Tekken. In practice mode, you have so much versatility that you can practically prep yourself for any given situation. Frame data is free this time around, and they actually give you punishment training. It's been here for a couple of games, but it's still a great idea. You're gonna need this because every character has their own gimmicks, and everybody's gonna be choosing a whole variety of characters because everybody's fun to play. Bandai Namco doubled down on personality this time around. So when you look at a character like King, he now has a few more grabs that are integral to his game plan, and even a sprint that can be used to do the most crazy fucking bullshit I've seen in my life. Or you could look at Lee. He's very stylish and has always had a rhythm-based combat system, so they gave him more blue sparks to reward timing. Along with adding moves to everybody's move list, they actually added ways to interact with the stages. There are wall breaks, there are hard wall breaks, wall splats, re-wall splats, balcony breaks, floor breaks, hard floor breaks, exploding walls, and exploding floors. Learning your way around the stages can give you the edge on your competition and reward you for using your surroundings, even if you don't mean to hit somebody into it. On the smaller and more insignificant side of things, there are brand new character interactions and character select animations. Just looking at this, Tekken 8 really is a thank you to the fan base. Although Tekken has had some shortcomings in the past, 7 walked so 8 could run. And in the competition between Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, and Tekken 8, Tekken 8 seems to be on the right track for being the best fighting game of the era. Alright, so during the making of this video, I actually hit 500 subscribers. That's crazy. It's not a whole bunch, but I don't know. I get at least 500 views like a video, so that shit's crazy. That means people are actually coming back and watching, which is a cool thought. I've been thinking of starting live streaming back up, just some chill live streams. So I'll update everybody on that when I get schedule set up and everything. But yeah, thanks for watching this video all the way to the end, and I will see you next time. The next video is going to be about Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, since there's hype around Sparking Zero coming out, and I love Tenkaichi 3 with a passion. I played that shit last week. I played that shit the week prior. I've been playing that shit for like fucking 25 years. And I'm not even 25 yet. So stay tuned for that. And thank you for watching.